Hello, it's Scott Manley here, launching during a solar eclipse, because there is a prophecy that said that the true power of the universe can only be brought into being during a solar eclipse. Actually, that's something I just made up, and I thought the solar eclipse looked cool. We are going towards the moon to become part of something which is great. There is a project there that has brought together the greatest minds in Kerbaldom to create a giant monument to space stationness. A station which one day will have everything and more. And I am delivering a very important component to it. Inside this extremely pointing aerodynamic fairing is an incredibly innovative communication system which will be required for day-to-day operations of the station. This component is so important. We didn't just consult astronomers and astrodynamicists, we also consulted astrologers. Well, we consulted basically anyone with Astro in their name, including Astro Boy. We put together a very detailed proposal, and then there was one important question: should we launch during an eclipse? And everybody said, hell yeah. And after that all-important study was complete, all our budget was used up, and we didn't actually have time to build a cool rocket, which is why we ended up with this rather ugly and simple-looking thing. But it will be enough, especially since we have the power of the eclipse helping us. Oh yes. Anyway, having carried the payload clear of the atmosphere, we can finally deploy it, exposing it to space in all its glory. It doesn't look like very much, does it? But it is really, really special. You're gonna love this, I tell you. Everybody's gonna love this. I mean, this is a collaboration station. We've previously had the fuel system, we've had a habitation module, a core system, and the communication system is a logical next step. I mean, think about it. There are already like 4 Kerbals on that station, and they are living with a terrible makeshift communication system. They basically have almost no entertainment available to them. This is going to deliver a connection to the world. And not only that, but it will carry their voices back out into the universe. Anyway, as I said, this is a Munar station. It is in low orbit around the moon, which means the next step in this long voyage is to perform the Trans-Munar injection burn, 825 meters per second, to accelerate us up to Trans-Munar velocity so that we may get captured by its gravity. You can see it there just next to the left of the sun there. Of course, I've already planned out the maneuver node a little more accurately than this. I'm not actually just pointing at the moon, although that does work given the amount of delta V I have available to me. The voyage to the moon takes just over a day, which means they are, of course, without this awesome entertainment and communication system for a whole day. I understand that this is cruelty, but it is necessary. We can't really change the laws of physics. The target is in a low lunar orbit. We are coming in a hyperbolic trajectory. We made sure prior to the encounter that we were in the same plane and we were orbiting in the same direction. And the initial capture burn is just less than 200 meters per second, so that's a very well planned maneuver. Granted, we didn't put it onto a free return trajectory, but we all knew that this thing was going to stay up there. In fact, once they caught sight of how awesome this was, they would not let it leave. After all, we all know how important communication is to everybody these days. Now, that initial capture orbit put us onto an elliptical orbit, which will come down and have an encounter with the station. So we will be able to just perform our terminal braking maneuver and get close. And so here we go. We are seeing it in the heads-up display, and we're now just going to let ourselves be carried in by the force of gravity. We're going faster than it, and once we come in close, we'll just slow everything down. This is, of course, not how you do it with the International Space Station. They have rules. They don't like this kind of high-speed approach. But you know what? I have I don't have the same amount of time as the International Space Station does. Also, rapid unplanned disassembly in a video game is actually quite fun. Now here I am inside 1 kilometer, and technically I'm supposed to have got permission from these guys, but I think my communication system is a little too powerful and they can't cut through. I built a giant jamming system by accident, but I'm sure they wouldn't say no. Anyway, this is my first look at this magnificent creation. I think I am the 5th part to come onto this station. I see a disc-shaped something or other, which I'm gonna guess is the habitation section, because we all know that living inside round things is way cooler than living inside our square things that we live on this planet. You know, if you're going to live in a space habitat, you really want to make it circular so that it looks more spacey. And when I say more spacey, I mean more like a thing that should be in space rather than more like Kevin Spacey. Because although he is an awesome actor, I do not think that anybody wants to live in a habitat which looks like Kevin Spacey. Anyway, look, with that terrible thought now running through your heads, I have ditched my booster stage, and now we're going to perform the final docking maneuver using only the reaction control thrusters on this final stage. I've obviously distributed thrusters throughout it because this very long antenna here is going to be required, it's going to be hard to navigate this thing. Also, now that we are very close in, Scott Kerman is going to need to be able to see, so we have opened the door so that he can actually see what's going on from inside his command module here. Now, I'll bet there's a few people out there that understand antenna design and wonder why I'm using a giant radio mast on top of this thing. And the reason is we don't really care about directional transmission, because really this is something that we want to transmit to the entire universe at once. Well, we're not going to transmit to everyone at once, but we're going to do our best. Like, I mean, when this was being designed, they said, hey, do you want to send a message to one person or to everyone? And we were like, everyone, why wouldn't you want to talk to everyone? So, giant omnidirectional antenna is what this thing has. So we're going to dock this very carefully in front of the ginormous fuel module here. The ginormous fuel module was, I believe, the second thing that's sent up there. It looks like there's a little propeller plane there. That is very interesting. Now, as a physicist, I would question the efficacy of a propeller on a spacecraft, but then I would realize that I have giant speakers on this thing, which probably won't work that well either. I say probably, but we're going to test them really soon now. Here we are, we're fully docked, we're ready to bring this thing online. Oh yes. This is going to be WKSC, the first radio station to be transmitting from around the moon. Scott Kerman was tasked with developing a communications and entertainment system for the station, and he went one better. He brought a whole DJ sound system into space. Now that we're pumping out megawatts of radio power all across the galaxy, all that's left is to dispose of this now redundant stage. All it's making is white noise, it isn't making the sweet, sweet beats. I mean, I'd love to figure out how to actually make rocket engines make music. That would be awesome. The rocket-powered pipe organ, that would be a fantastic concept. There are actually subwoofers that use propeller blades, variable pitch propeller blades, to create super low-end bass notes. But here we're going to touch this down gently. I mean, we could have just slammed it into the surface and created the ultimate base drop, but this thing was involved in such a momentous occasion that we felt that it should be left on the surface as a monument to what it was part of, what it helped create. But with that important task done, it's on to the next part of the series. Check out the playlist. I'll see you around. I'm Scott Manley. Fly safe.